I think there's tremendous value in taking an audience through season after season, following a particular line, either a composer or a period of music that is perhaps less familiar to them. And we started this with Vaughan Williams, and he wrote a number of symphonies, most of which are not well known at all and rarely performed. And yet the response has been, wow, that's amazing music, I'd like to hear more. So, okay, here it comes. Vaughan Williams is not all lark ascending and variations on a theme of Thomas Tallis. I think he's a seriously neglected composer of the 20th century and should be re-examined alongside Benjamin Britten, his contemporary, and William Walton. Now, they all had very different musical vocabulary, but all writing basically with the same historical, philosophical and political impulses. The Sixth Symphony of Vaughan Williams, which is now, I think, the third one I will have done here after the eighth and the third, it's not, let's be honest, it's not one of his cheeriest works, but then he did write it from the period of 1944 to 1947. It's a work that examines where the world is at the end of a major conflict. That, together with Benjamin Britten's Violin Concerto, which he wrote at the beginning of the Second World War, a much more contemporary musical language, possibly a much more musically sophisticated musical language, shall we say. Vaughan Williams hanging on rather more to the traditional development of music that you might say the work could have been written 20 years earlier. But the two of them, a young man, a pacifist, an anti-war activist, starting at the start of the war in Benjamin Britten, and a much older man who's already lived through the First World War, and looking at it all from the point of view of that was the great war to end all wars and this was the next war, and where's the world going? And I don't like making big political statements. I'm not that kind of artist who's going to give a sermon from the podium. But I do think every now and then artists have a responsibility to put a program in front of the audience that makes them examine where the world is at the moment. And I think looking at this examination of the world at a time of war is particularly timely given where the world is at the moment. It's not all champagne and bubbles in the musical world. It's not all celebration. But this is where music is so extraordinary. It is a language that speaks to each of us individually. And some people will find resolution and completion and, if you like, it's a horrible word, but closure within these works. And other people will find the strength to argue and the strength to confront. And other people will just enjoy a beautiful symphonic concert with a great artist in the form of Simone Lamsma, who's a wonderful Dutch violinist with whom I performed the work in Washington a few years ago and said to her, you got to come to Sydney and do this with us in Sydney. And the same with the Vaughan Williams. It's an extraordinarily beautiful piece of music, powerful. So you will find in it what you're looking for, and I hope some audience members will be surprised.